Alabama head coach Nick Saban making his way into the chair here.
Hey, Coach. Good to see you again.
Guys,
A-Day coming up here in Tuscaloosa this weekend. But first, we spent the night last night in a great hotel here in Tuscaloosa, Alamite. Yeah, it was a great stay there. It's just a beautiful location here in Tuscaloosa.
That's Miss Terry's.
Yeah.
Did she decorate it?
Yeah.
It's a unique place.
It
I'd
really
never been
is.
in there before. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was a nice day. So you're out here, and we're out here to raise awareness for the RISE program that's been here at the university since back in the mid '70s, and Nick's kids now for almost 2 decades, dedicating a lot of resources to helping kids here in our state. Tell us about the RISE program and why it became so important to you when you got here.
I think the RISE program offers opportunities not only for disadvantaged children, but also all the children in the community. And I don't think there's anybody in town who has young children that would not like for them to be able to get into RISE. So to be able to support that, I think our players do a lot of community service there, read to the kids. Miss Terry's involved with it. We got some wonderful people that in the community that support it and make it possible. And I think Coach Stallings really sort of was the guy that made people aware of how important it was because of Johnny and his situation. And Coach Stallings provided great mentorship and leadership for a lot of people in the community to support RISE. And I think it's one of the most important things we can do in the community.
We were talking about one of your former players just a second ago, Jalen Hurts, and the contract he received last week or this week, $255 million. A lot of people, including us, didn't know if he would even start in the league. And now annual salary, he's making more than anybody in the history of the league. Just Jalen Hurts, his determination, dedication, work ethic. They've got to be some of the top you've seen, right?
Well, first of all, we're happy for Jalen and his family, and he's been rewarded for just what you said. You couldn't find a better guy, can't find a better leader, can't find a more determined, hardworking guy that's got great sense of purpose and not only understands what he wants to do, but he has a willingness to do all the things he needed to do to develop and get it done. My hat's off to him. They had a great year at the Eagles this year, and he had a great year, and we're just happy that the organization recognized the fact that he's going to be their quarterback for a long time.
You may have the number one, or one of your former players, maybe the number one overall draft pick, and the odds are right now looking like it could be Bryce Young. How important, you obviously sell the NFL as part of your recruiting pitch. Does it help to have the number one overall draft pick when you're out there recruiting a kid that might want to come play quarterback at Alabama?
Well, I don't think there's any question about the fact that the last 3 quarterbacks we have had at Alabama are all starters in the league, including Jalen. And Bryce may be, the first guy picked in the draft. I think all those things are, selling points to guys that want to have a career and develop a career, really at any position, but especially the quarterback position. It, speaks volumes of the sort of offense that we've had that is quarterback friendly, and the receivers that we've also had that have been very successful as well. So we're excited for Bryce. We're certainly hopeful that, everything works out for him. I don't think there's any question about the fact that most people agree that, he was the most productive guy, in the draft at that position. But, they all take size and all that kind of stuff into consideration. So, hopefully it's not where you get picked in a draft, though. It's really what kind of career you have. And he's the kind of guy that whatever happens in this he's going to be very dedicated to trying to be the best player he can be.
He played at one of the best high school programs in the history of high school football, basically. The first time you saw him on tape, I don't know if you look at tape this way, is probably what you're going to tell me, but did you look at him and say, that kid could be the number one overall pick one day?
I don't look at tape that way.
I knew you were going to say that, yeah.
And it's so hard to say because we don't have the opportunity to evaluate the other players. When you're in the league, which I was in the league for 8 years, you have the opportunity to evaluate all the players so you can make comparisons, but it's very difficult to make those comparisons when you're just looking at your players, and especially when you look at a high school player, because I think the most important thing we try to get our high school guys, regardless of what position, is to focus on their development. They all want to be first round draft picks someday, but what do you have to do it? And what are you willing to sacrifice to be able to do it? and how can you stay focused on not the outcome, but what you have to do to get the outcome. And I think that's the most important thing. And Bryce did an outstanding job of that, and a lot of our players have been rewarded very well for. I think we had like something like 70 players on NFL rosters last year, so we're proud of that, and it does help in recruiting.
Do you find watching tape relaxing? Like he watches movies, he goes to a driving range. I don't know what I do to relax. When you start watching tape, you get into your zone of reviewing a practice or a game or looking at prospects. Have you gotten to a point where that's sort of relaxing to you?
Yeah, I enjoy it. I enjoy recruiting. I enjoy the evaluation process, which is really, really important. Not only is a guy a good player or bad player, but how does he fit in terms of the critical factors that you need for a guy to play in your system, whether it's offense, defense, special teams, or whatever. So I really do enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. The really good ones, though, they stick out.
Do you find Miss Terry telling you sometimes, "Hey, no watching tape today. We need to do this"? Does she ever try to reel you in on tape watching?
I got it kind of jerry rigged to where I do it when there's not much going on. Like I get up early in the morning and I'll do it maybe before church or whatever, before there's a lot of activity. She usually lays out, here's the schedule. We're going to see the grandkids at 2 o'clock today. So whatever else you want to do, you got to get it done by 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock the deadline, right?
Random question. What are the worst weather conditions you've ever coached a game in?
Well, Cleveland, I bet.
Oh, it had to be Michigan
Well,
State.
Michigan State,
Oh,
Cleveland, he's
yeah.
been all over.
I think Buffalo, the last 2 times we played at Buffalo, it was horrible. When I was at the head coach of the Dolphins, we played up there in December, and it was the worst kind of 40 degrees, 38 degrees, sleeting, raining, windy. And then when I was at the Houston Oilers, Buffalo was in the Super Bowl those years in a row, but we were always kind of the next best team. So we always had to play them. We always had to play them in Buffalo.
Were you on that staff with the comeback against
No,
Frank Reich?
no,
No, he'd have
I
stopped
wasn't
it.
there then. I was there
He
in
would have
88 and
stopped it.
89.
Yeah.
And,
No way he lets that go.
we played in Buffalo, and there had to be 7 feet of snow on the ground, and the snowballs coming at the bus riding in are, something you don't forget. But
Yeah.
it was also about 20 below, so
Yeah, that's why God doesn't let it snow in Baton Rouge. Keep that from happening in places like that.
Yeah, as a lifelong Dolphins fan, I do love it though when the schedule comes out and we have that early season game in Buffalo and they got late season in Miami, because New England and Buffalo have never handled late season in Miami well. That's a hard place to play late in the year. I mean, it's 85 degrees and you've been practicing in the snow.
Yeah, that was my first question I asked Mr. Huizinga when I went there is, why are we in the division with these
I
guys?
know, I've asked him many
The
times.
Jets,
Coach.
New England, and
Yep.
and Buffalo, because we're going to have to play 2 of those games up there in December, and everybody else was a little more regionally sort of divided from the division standpoint. But it was really a logical fan base type thing because there were a lot of Northeastern people in South Florida. So sometimes we played the Jets, that'd be 20,000 Jet fans.
I know.
We had you on a couple of years ago. It was Game of Thrones. It was the final season, and we were talking to you about Game of Thrones. Do you watch Succession?
I have not, but Miss Terry has sort of said maybe we should watch.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
it's
good,
incredible.
Coach. So good.
Yeah, I hear it's really good. But
I know you
we're
don't have a
looking.
ton of time.
We're actually looking for something. So this interview was beneficial.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad we can help. What have you watched recently though? What have you just finished watching?
Oh man. Oh, there's nothing that would.
Because my wife and I, it's constant trying to find something we both like. I don't know if you struggle with that with your wife, but I mean,
Well, one that is one to remember that I liked. Of course, you got to read the,
Subtitles.
But we watched Resurrection, which was about historic Turkey and how it developed, and back in the old days. And it said there was 5 seasons, but it didn't tell you that there were 85 episodes in every season.
Wow.
Well, you're committed at that point, aren't you?
It took like 2 years to watch it. 'Cause, like I watch one episode at 10 o'clock at night right before I go to bed. That's it.
Yeah.
So it took a long time.
This event usually with the Rise program is usually after a day. When on the calendar do you get your golf game? Like at the A+ level? Your top, whatever you can do golfing now. When is that? June, July?
Probably July.
July?
June used to be a pretty good month in coaching, college coaching, and now it's one of the most hectic, busiest months because as soon as they changed the recruiting rules that guys could visit in the summer, you got your team working out, you've got recruits every weekend, and then we historically have, 10 days of camp. So between high school camps, recruiting, coaching your team, it's one of the busiest months now. July is probably the best month, and that's probably when I play the most.
If we had this calendar that you have to endure right now in college football, would you still be doing this if you'd had that way back at the beginning? I mean, it seems like you guys are working more now than ever before.
I think that's probably true, and I think the portal creates a whole different dynamic in terms of you have to recruit your team because people are trying to poach guys off of your team. So, that's something you never had to do before. You have a whole nother evaluation process of all the guys that get in the portal. Can any of these guys actually help our team? And we haven't been big in the portal. I think we took 2 guys 1 year, 4 guys, and we took 2 guys this year. So, but we do constantly look and see if there is somebody who could help our roster, and we'll do the same thing this spring.
What is the bigger pain in the ass for a coach, though, NIL or transfer portal?
Well, first of all, I think NLI is good for the players. I think it gives them an opportunity, but to make money and use their name, image, and likeness, which is what it was supposed to be. But what we've made it, and the unintended consequence of collectives and creating opportunities for players that they really didn't create on their own, and you use that in recruiting, and it becomes a pay for play type of thing. I don't think that's what anybody wanted it to be or thinks it should be. And maybe we'll get some guardrails on it at some point in time that it's doesn't have those kinds of implications. But when you put the portal and NLI together, where somebody can say, hey, if you get in a portal, we'll pay you this much to come to our school. That's a little bit of an issue that I don't think is a consequence of that anybody anticipated as well.
All right, one question from Rockstar. He's back in Birmingham. We will hear him, our producer, Rockstar. Fire away, Rockstar.
Well, that's a serious question this time. I just finished a very depressing book called Killers of the Flower Moon. And I was curious if, Coach, you did a Oprah Winfrey's Book of the Month club. What would be one of your books you would recommend first?
Well, I read a lot of coaching books, and probably one that probably impacted me the most philosophically is, John Wooden's old book about process and his pyramid of success and all that. But I'm reading one now that is very interesting to me because I like history and I like cultural things. Is The End of the World is Just the Beginning. And it's a very interesting book because it talks about cultures, how they developed, why they developed because of circumstances, how people tried to, if you could develop something, somebody tried to take it from you, and how that historically, sort of developed all the cultures through time, and how, it's affecting us now and how it will change the cultures that we have to live in the future. So pretty interesting to me, at least. Probably boring to most people.
No, I love that.
sounds
No.
fascinating.
I love that
So,
stuff.
sounds like something you will use in a lesson to your team at some point, building a program and people trying to take it away from you.
Yeah, well, that's been the case for a while now. And last
Doesn't
couple
stop.
of years, somebody's been successful, so we need to try to take it back.
Before you go, my youngest daughter came home from school the other day. They were battling for the homeroom pizza party, and she lost, and she was upset about it. And I said, "Why did you lose?" She goes, "Well, Dad, you know my friend Amelie?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, I'm not met her, baby, but tell me." And she goes, "Well, her granddad, who's the name of the coach at Alabama football?" I said, "Well, it's Nick Saban." She goes, "Well, it's her granddad, and we can't beat him." And I said, "Well, baby, if you think I'm getting a bidding war with Miss Terry, you're crazy. You keep winning, Coach.
Well,
You're dominating."
hopefully Amelie's doing it because of who she is, and she's, a great little young girl, and
I know my daughter loves her. They're good friends.
Been the love of our life.
Yeah.
The grandkids have been great. Miss Terry loves it. And sort of the unintended consequences of that is, I get a little more time to myself sometimes because you just kind of move down on the list. It's the kids, and then it's the grandkids, then the dogs, then you fit in somewhere. After that.
When we set up here, it was 77 degrees. I apologize for it being 102 right now as we sit here in the heat.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, that's one thing that really affected practice yesterday was it was really the first really warm day, in the mid 80s that we'd had all spring. And I think with pads, that was a little difficult for some of the players.
Yeah, I'm the one that would be wilting. I wouldn't be on your team. You would have cut me a long time
I
ago.
think Coach knows that.
Yeah, Nick Saban, appreciate your time and thank you for what you do with the Rice program out here. I know they're happy to have you here, and they're waiting to take you to another room, I'm sure, over here. So, Coach, thank you, man. We'll see you Saturday.
Good. Appreciate you
Yeah,
guys.
thank you,
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Appreciate you.